everybody, Mr. Jonathan here, and today we're gonna draw the little green men or the aliens from Toy Story, if you know better that way. But anyways, we're gonna get started with the basic shapes here. And this is probably gonna be the hardest part of the drawing, is making the basic shape of the head. So the way I do it is start off with kind of a football shape. So I'm going to curve up here on the top first. Okay. And then just try to match it here on the bottom with the same kind of curve. Notice I'm not bringing these lines together at a point because on the side of the heads, it is kind of flattened out here. So it's not a complete football shape, but the top and bottom parts are pretty similar. Let me darken up my lines just a little bit so you could see it a little more clearly on camera. But remember, for your own drawings, if you can, draw these first steps as lightly as possible. Okay, looks pretty good. Kind of like if you're drawing an eye even. Okay, and like I said, don't want these corners here very pointy. I'm gonna flatten them out a little bit like this. Okay. So we got the head shape in place. I think I made this part a little bit too long compared to this side, so let me make it a little shorter here. There we go. Just make a couple of adjustments here. Nice. Okay, I am gonna put my midline here right away just so I don't forget. And what I'm gonna do as well is actually just drop the midline going all the way down, so it's going to go through the body as well. And the reason why I'm doing this is because it's going to help me find the middle here of the legs, you know, so I don't make one leg too thin or too big. Okay, so midline here going all the way through, and then the body shape here, we're just going to curve out this way first. You could go pretty far out to the side of the head here. The bodies are pretty wide on these characters. And we're just drawing one, but on the movie there's several. So if you want to, even on your drawing, make this smaller, and you could have room to add as many as you'd like. So I'm just doing the same thing over here on the other side of the body. Trying to make this line the same distance from the middle as this line, right? So we could have a nice even body. Okay, I think that's pretty close. You also want to try to bring these two lines down to the same level this way. Okay, so from here, once you get those two lines in, make this a little bit darker. Once you get these two lines in, what you do from here is you start at the end of the line and you go down this way, making a V shape in between the body. So this is where that midline helps out, because if you have the midline, you have somewhere to aim to for these lines here. Okay. And you want them to meet right here in the middle. And then from here, to get a few more basic shapes in place, I would say these are the primary shapes, and the shapes we're going to put in next would be the secondary shapes. So the second most important one would be the arms. So I'm going to start the arms on the side of the body, and you want to leave a little bit of space between the head and where you start the arms, because they do have the collar here. So you do want to leave room for that. And I'm going to make an arm going up this way, as if it's waving. you want to make sure you leave some room for the ear as well. I think I made this arm a little bit too close to the head, so I'm gonna have it go out just a little bit more. Okay, then we'll clean this up. And then bring it down this way. We're not going to worry about the hands just yet. We just want to get the pose and position of the arm in place for now. Okay, then we jump over to this side. And again, leave a little bit of a gap here before you start your arm. And this arm is just going to be hanging down this way. And if you want, you could position the arms in any way you want to draw them. If you want to have both arms going up, waving both hands, you could do that, or even both arms going down. Really up to you. Okay, 2 arms, and then the feet, we're just going to go on each side and curve out, down and out. Okay, and then as we come back around, what we're aiming for is this little corner here on the V shape. Okay, so we got the feet sticking out this way. And then last one here. Going this way. You could include the ears in the secondary shapes as well if you wanted, but I'm just going to draw them as we draw the details because they are pretty simple. All right. So now we have all the simple shapes that we need in place. And, you know, it's pretty easy to see how this is going to turn into this. We don't have that much work left to do in terms of the details. But with the details, we are going to start at the top of the head and just work our way down. So there's the antenna there. This is where the midline, one part where the midline will help us. What we want to do is go up this way. And this line does have a little bit of a curve here at the very bottom. And then as it gets higher, it starts to straighten out a little bit. And what you want to do when you're making the shape is, you see at the base, it's pretty wide. But then as it goes higher, it gets thinner and thinner. So these lines here are getting a little bit closer together as you raise up. And then at the top of the antenna, you want it to bubble up a little bit like this. Okay. So just this little curve shape up here on top. I think the antenna did come out pretty good, so I'm going to darken up my lines here and just seal it in right away. Like that. Okay. And like right here in the head shape, we don't need this line anymore. So once you erase that, then the true shape of the head will start to take place a little bit more. Now, like I was saying, the ears are pretty simple. Just gonna go over to the side here. And I'm gonna draw this sort of like a spike shape going up. There's a little bit of a curve to this as well. It's not completely straight and pointy. But as you can see, it's kind of curving up like this. Just a little bit. Okay. And then as we come down here, we're going to curve down to finish off the ear and just close it up right back at the head. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to jump over here to this side and do the same thing. The only thing with the ears is you want to try to make sure that you get them to be, you know, the same height going up and down and the same width. I'm going to go up this way. This one, I'm going to start drawing it lightly first, just in case there's any adjustments I need to make. You know, just in case it doesn't match up with this ear, I might need to do some erasing. Okay. So we get this top part first, right? Then come down this way and close it up. There we go. And I think that does look okay, so I'll darken up my lines here. Just like that. All right, now going down here, I will darken up my lines for the head shape now, because I am pretty happy with the shape, how it turned out, so I don't think I need to make any adjustments as far as that goes. Just need to make sure that my lines stay nice and clean. So I try to get it all in just a few lines here going around. There we go. Not bad. Okay. So now jumping into the features of the face. 3 eyes, it does get kind of tricky to get all 3 eyes symmetrical. So I like to start in the middle. For this version, well, on this side, I drew the eyes in kind of a different shape that I'm going to draw them here. This version, it's kind of flatter here on top, and then it rounds out more at the bottom. Here, I'm going to make the eyes more or less just circles. So again, I'm going to start in the middle here and get a circle. And depending on how you draw your eyes as well, it could give a little bit of a different expression. And what I'm going for here is, if you draw the eyes completely circles, it could give a little bit more of a surprised look to them. So I haven't tried it yet myself. I'm just going to try it now and experiment and see how it turns out. But anyways, we got the circle in the middle, and then what we want to do is just try to match up as best as we can the eyes on more towards the side of the head. And from what the pictures I was looking at, some of them seem to have the eyes on the side a little bit smaller than on the middle. And I think the reason behind that is not because the eyes are actually get smaller. It's because there's a roundness to the head, and as these eyes are curving away from us, they appear to be smaller. So anyways, the point is, if these eyes on the side of the head are not the same size as the eye in the center, then that's okay. That's actually probably how it's supposed to look like. But what you want to try to make sure of is that at least these eyes on the side aren't bigger than this one in the middle. Okay. So I like to plot my eyes out lightly first and just make sure they're a good size and shape, and even the position is good. Now this eye I can already see is a little bit closer to this eye than this one to this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one over just a little bit. Okay. I'll clean this up here. Remember, as you draw, it's good to clean up as you go, so that way by the time you get to the end of your drawing, it's going to be nice and neat and clean. Okay, and that looks pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do now is just seal these eyes in the middle of each one. I'm going to draw a dot. Okay, so I'll start with the dots in each one. And then to finish them off, I'm just gonna have to make my outlines dark. So pretty simple for the eyes. The only tricky thing is well, that there's 3 of them. When usually in all the other characters that we draw, they only have 2. Okay. I'll darken up the outlines here. Nice. Last thing for the head and face, we're gonna get the mouth in place. I'm gonna draw the mouth pretty much the same as here. I am gonna make it maybe a little bit wider in terms of how much it's opened up a little bit wider. And the smile on here is gonna be a little bit different than how we usually draw the smiles on other characters, where, you know, usually we just draw like the emoji kind of smile. This one, we actually, the top part of the lip, we're gonna curve the opposite way just a little bit. So see, it's curving a little bit this way instead of like your typical smile. So here we start with this kind of line. And then on the corners of the mouth is where the curve starts to turn. So it's gonna go up here at the corner and here as well. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna go ahead and make this line nice and dark. And then here for the bottom part of the mouth, that's when we do the typical curve. I think I want to make mine a little closer to the corner of the mouth, going this way. Okay. And having this midline in place is helpful still. The way I'm using it is once I'm curving down this way, now that I reach the midline, that's when I know that I need to start going back up here. Okay. So it's like going down, 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 get to the midline. Now I go back up. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I think I'm liking how this expression with the eyes and wider mouth is coming out a little bit better than this one. Once you get your mouth in place, you could just shade it in. How dark you want to shade it, that's really up to you. I am gonna go a lot darker than this. But I mentioned this before, when you're shading, it is very helpful to start off light. Start your shading lightly, and then just build up the darkness with layers, instead of just pressing your pencil in really hard to get a dark shade. This is the approach I like to take. A lot of light layers. Then you have a lot more control over how dark you're making it. And also, in my opinion, it comes out a lot more even, the shade. So now maybe one more. Okay, not too bad. We are pretty much done with the head here, so I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup. There we go. Okay, now getting down to the details of the body. We're starting off with the collar here. So right where the body meets the head, I'm gonna curve out a little bit. One simple way you could do this is if you do a curve on this side, you know, where the head meets the body, right down to where the arm starts, and then jump over to this side here and do the same thing. So just add this curve. And once you have your 2 curves in place, Then on each side, all you have to do now is connect them like that. Okay. I think what I'll do next is the belt. So I will just draw the entire strap first, lightly. Okay. Just plotting it out, finding the right place for it, making sure it's not too high or too low. Get that in place. I think that looks pretty good. Compared to this one, I think the body might be a little bit shorter. So these legs, the legs on this one are going to be shorter than this side. I could already tell. Okay. So we got that in place. And then what I like to do is draw the buckle around the strap now that we have the strap there. So the buckle does go out a little bit past the ends of the strap here, like in terms of like how wide it is or how tall. So I'll draw it like this. Go down this way. Actually, I'll erase all these lines inside that I don't need. And then that'll make it easier for me to draw this shape inside. So if I drew the shape first before I erase those lines that I don't need, then I'd be trying to really just get in there in tight spaces with the eraser. When, you know, if you just erase it first, it's gonna make things a little bit easier. Okay, so now that the buckle is in place, I can darken up these lines here for the strap of the belt. And hopefully you could see what I'm talking about here with the buckle going a little bit past the strap here. Yeah. Okay. I'll darken up the sides of the body here. Okay, now we're gonna get into the arms and the hands. So one simple trick I can show you to draw the hands. We've done something pretty similar to this before. Let me darken up the arms first. But we're gonna draw kind of what acts like the palm first, and just the curve here like this. Okay. We're just gonna get this curve shape in place, and around this curve I'm gonna put the thumb here very close to the wrist. Well, you can mark your wrist off with a line like this. Okay, then get the thumb in there. And then here, more towards the top, we'll put 2 fingers here. And here. And then now that we don't need the lines being covered up by the fingers, we'll get rid of those. And then we'll see the true shape of the hand start to take place. Like that. Okay. And you know, we could do the same thing with this arm. What you want to make sure of is when you're drawing this curve here, make it nice and light because we are going to have to erase a lot of it. Now I got the curve. I'll just put the thumb here. Then the 2 fingers. Then don't forget the sleeve right there. Erase these parts. Okay, almost done. Right here for the middle of the legs, I'll just darken up the line a little bit. You don't want to go all the way up to the belt. Let me erase all these lines that we don't need anymore on this side too. Okay, so darken up these lines here. And for the for the shoes. And then the last thing that we need to do is just add a little bit extra here at the bottom of the shoes for the sole. Just like that, going from the heel, wrapping all the way around to the toe. And there you go. That's the little green man, or now we have little green men here. I'm just going to take a little bit of time to double check, make sure I didn't forget anything, and make sure that everything is nice and neat and clean. I think it's looking pretty good. So hopefully your drawing came out well too. And thanks for joining. We'll catch you at the next draw along. Bye everyone.